All right, guys, in today's video, we're working on the interior. I'm going to show you a couple of ways to deal with the problem with the bench-type seat headrests in these CK trucks. So we can see in the Cheyenne here on the passenger side, we've got our headrest. If we look along the top, and I've got a piece of cardboard back here just to cut down on the glare from the sun, just so you guys will be able to see really well. But we see what the problem is over time, this has split and come apart, right? So it's just, it's not a functional problem. It's just very unsightly. So the first way of dealing with this is going to be a straight up replacement. So let me show you that. So when you pull this up, what you'll find is it goes up to a certain point on these models and then stops. And you've got a couple of holes on both sides. Take a 90-degree pick or a straight pick. Doesn't matter in the case of these with it on the front. And if you stick that pick in here, if we zoom in, you'll feel a little release tab inside. There's like a little lock on both of these. And what we're going to do is we're going to push that in and we're going to work it up on both sides. You just have to work it off of all the stops and then it'll come off. And what we can see inside here is, and we've got a replacement one down here we'll show in just a minute, but you can see what's happened is there's a foam core in here and then there's a PVC skin that gets molded around on it. And the ultraviolet light over time attacks this, and then eventually it succumbs to this pressure that's constantly under from the foam. When you get something off like this, you can see there's a lot of pressure it would take to put this back on. So there's parts numbers from GM for these, but they've been discontinued for a long time, well over a decade. And they're very, very difficult to come across, although the gray is a little bit more common than the other colors. But what you can do is either track those down, I'll put those part numbers in the description for you, or you can look for a replacement. So this is what this is supposed to look like. Now this is off of a 2000 CK, a carryover model. 2500, so you can still find these in 99 and 2000, even though the pickups weren't made anymore for the most part after 98. They were still making 3/4 and 1 ton trucks, and the 3/4 ton trucks are a good donor for this type of thing. Very simple to reinstall. All we're going to do is we're going to apply a little bit of silicone spray to the posts, and that's just to give them some light lubrication. Go straight back in the way it came out. Make sure that it locks the way it's supposed to. And then to prevent this problem from happening going forward, I'm going to be trying out this new product. I've not used this before, but I've had a lot of people in the boating area recommend it to me. And that's this 303 aerospace protectant, which is specifically designed to prevent UV damage to things like vinyl. And what I'd recommend doing on this, it's not clear like a Armor All type product. It's got kind of a milky color to it. But we'll end up applying this all around the top. We'll put it all over everything, but we'll make sure around the top and the seam that's prone to this splitting that we'll reapply this material about every other oil change or 6,000 miles. And I think that's going to give us another several 5, 8, 10 years of life out of these replacement parts. Now, as far as an alternative, so that's a straight-up replacement. Part numbers in the description. You might come across them at a car show. They do show up on eBay from time to time, maybe once a year, or going to an LKQ-type salvage yard where you can pick the parts yourself and pull it off of a later model, old body-style pickup truck that has this kind of Cheyenne-type trim. What if you don't want to replace it and you want to try to repair this? Well, that's going to be really difficult. But I'm also in this video going to show you one approach that I think might work, right? You have a very few options, right? If you go in and you try to heat this up, because it's a PVC skin, it's polyvinyl chloride, it's just going to shrink and melt. So you're not going to be able to go that route. What we're going to try is doing a specific type of industrial glue that's designed for PVC along with a repair strip, and we're going to see if that gives us good results, because we only found one of these and we got the same splitting problem on the driver's side too. So we're going to need to try an alternative, at least as a stopgap. So let's get set up and I'll show you that. All right, if you were to go about repairing one of these rather than replacing, what would you do? So I'm going to show you a technique that I'm going to give a shot here. Haven't done it before. We'll see how it works out. We're going to take a trim tool and we're going to get in between this old foam and the original vinyl. And the reason we're going to do that is we want to get in here and clean, right? You can see this used to be adhesive to the foam just because of the natural expansion when this got made. And we're going to have to get in here and separate this so that we can get inside and give it a good cleaning surface. We're going to do that on both edges of this, right? Just going to peel this back about 3/4 of an inch, 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch, right? And then I'm going to clean the inside of that. I mean, you can use a number of different things. I'm just going to give it some 50% alcohol. What 50% means, it's half alcohol and half water. That'll be good to degrease it and get something that we can get a good bite into. Now what we're going to do after we do that is we're going to take, let's set this here for a second and I'll show you two other things. We're going to take something like this, which is a strip of PVC repair tape, right? And in this particular color, just in case we get a seam and something shows through. So what you got here is just a strip that'll be for repair. And what we'll end up doing is we'll end up cutting this to the width of our tear plus a little bit more. And then we're going to use this product here from RH Adhesives, HH66 vinyl cement. So this is a commercial type of cement for adhering this type of material, which is what this original headrest is made of. So that's the technique. I'm going to go ahead, get it cleaned up, get a piece of this cut to fit, and then I'll show you how we're going to try and install it and secure it until it dries. All right, guys, just to show you kind of the technique. And I got two different ones here that I'm doing this on, so you might see me switching between two different actual headrests. But you see, we're just going to peel this away from the vinyl. And you want to be gentle with it because it's old and brittle at this point. So it is possible for it to crack. And then I'm going to use this putty knife. You can use whatever you want. But at some point you want to get something in here to hold this back. Just like that. And then we can get in here and take a shop towel with our cleaner. And we can get in here and work that clean. Right? So we're just going to go around the whole perimeter of this split with that kind of a technique. Getting all the small fibers off. We want to get this where it's down to as smooth as we can and free of the original foam material. Now if we kind of zoom in there, you can get a feel for this area by my thumb is clean, and the area below it we still need to clean because you got some material sticking to it. So we're going to do the whole thing like that, then we'll come back. All right, guys, and the next thing with this tape, we've cut it to fit right along the top here. It's got like a smooth, shiny side and then a rough side. The smooth side is what we want to face up in this case. And then what we're going to do is very similar to how we made room in here in order to clean it. We're going to work the repair tape into here next. We're just going to go all the way around and work this in. And we're going to end up doing it on both sides, right? Then we're going to run it right past the corners where it's not splitting, because that's the only place left that's kind of got some strength to it. And again, you know, this is not a permanent repair, guys. This is definitely a stopgap kind of thing if you're trying to maybe just get things fixed up enough to sell the truck, or you're just trying to hold out so you can find a better one at the salvage yard, or you find a brand new one on eBay. This is not a permanent repair by any means, but I'm going to go ahead and keep working this tape in, just going to show you kind of what I'm doing here on the corner here, right, just to get it into the foam on both sides. We want to make sure that we have it making contact here to here without the foam in the way, because this glue isn't going to stick with that foam, and this foam is so old it's crumbling apart. It's just going to ruin our surface, right? So we're just going to try and keep doing like that. So I'm going to keep getting it in like this, and I'm going to kind of shift it over, and we'll come back right before we do the adhesive. All right, just showing you folks a progress report. I'm using a chopstick here to keep it from creasing where we don't want it to crease. I'm just continuing to work it in on both sides of the foam. Right, continuing to use this to to keep it up as we close it, right? Because we don't want it to sink. We want to have it flex out like this so it'll make contact. As we get this last piece on here, I'll tuck this under here, and then we'll start trying to work it just under one open piece. I'll bring you guys back just as we get this underneath there. All right, guys, you can see I'm almost at the point of ready to put the glue on. So we're trying to make sure the foam keeps puffing up our patch. I use this little pick when we get problems like this, so we can get down here and inch the patch over or away from a piece of the foam that's causing it to wrinkle up like that, right? So got to be real careful on this one because there's a crack, so we want to be careful that we don't make that any worse. But that's what we're going to do. Is just takes a lot of time just to manipulate it and keep it getting puffy. As soon as I can get this last little wrinkle out, we'll be ready to apply the adhesive. All right, guys, let's see if this is actually worth the effort. So I'm going to try to continue to hold some pressure here while I open up this can of cement. And we're just going to liberally apply this all along the top edge, particularly in the corners. You can see it's going to want to reopen these gaps, unfortunately. Not really anything we can do about that. We'll see if we can repair it as we seal it up here. All right, so now we're just going to continue to work this seam in. This is the last section here. I'm going to need some help from my camera person as we do this, but as we continue to work it closed, right like that, I'm going to have my camera person help me by putting some duct tape around, and we're going to hold it. It's kind of like doing stitches. We're just going to wrap it around each one of these until we get the whole length of this thing secured. Then we'll wipe up the excess and let it set. All right, guys, so we're just using this duct tape to hold everything shut like a suture. But you can see that's where we want the seam. I'm going to put a piece here. Just wanted to show you how it is. And so what we should have is that vinyl cement should seal not just the original tear in the vinyl, but also now we have the inside foam pushing up against that piece of patch tape, and so we'll have that down the length as well. So that'll give us the protection at the corners to stop it from continuing to tear and also reinforce the original tear. So before this dries up, I need to stop and get this in, and after it's all dry, we'll take off the tape and see how it looks. All right, guys, we unwrapped part of this, and it looked like she's holding, so let's go ahead and get all the rest of it off here. And we got some little bit of residue from where the tape and the adhesive reacted. But otherwise, it looks like it's going to be okay. And I will want to clean this up. Let's get this last piece off here. All right, so this did the job. There's a little bit of unevenness along the top here that I think is just from the foam in there. So I think we can manipulate that back to fill in without busting up the seal, and then we can clean this up very carefully without getting anything that might damage the adhesive. We want to clean the excess adhesive off, and then we can try to go ahead and get some of this dirt and stuff off of here, and then go ahead and hit it with the 303. Anyway, I hope this idea helps you out as an alternative if you can't find one of these at the salvage yard, and certainly finding one in NOS or new old stock condition is an Easter egg hunt. If you got any questions or comments about this, go ahead and leave a comment below and I'll try to help. If you found this useful, saved you some money, helped get your truck good enough to sell or something of that nature, pay it forward, hit that like button. I'd really appreciate it. And as always, thanks for watching.